the Vice President made what he said about the protection of rights of citizens is completely consistent with the President's position on this issue. And his description of the way the country has moved on this issue, I think is wholly accurate. I think we all have seen the data that describes an evolution of views across the country on these issues. This President has been extremely aggressive in supporting LGBT rights. He fought against those who opposed the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and achieved that in this administration. And again, you didn't want to hear it, but there's a long, long list of the actions that this administration has taken on behalf of LGBT citizens in this country. And that's a record that the President's very proud of.
Well, maybe it is a record that the President is proud of, and there have been advances in the administration, but to say there's no daylight between Biden's statements and the President's, pshaw. All right, let me give you an idea here of what folks are saying about this. And Dominic and Andrew said that, hey, this was a strategy. This was thought out. Biden and Duncan, they knew what they were doing when they said what they did. I'm with TJ where I don't think that this was planned out, and I think you got a hot mess now on the President's desk. Let's get a little quick sampling of what others are saying. And this, if you saw it in Politico, was from a Democratic strategist who said the following, a Democratic communication strategist, speaking about the White House. They had the best of both worlds going up until this weekend, where they didn't have to rock the boat of actually coming out for it being gay marriage. The gay community was fully happy in their belief that he, wink, wink, supported. Now, in their efforts to contain the Biden fallout, they seem to be digging in against gay marriage, emphasizing how they are not for it. This is the opposite of what they have successfully been doing all along. Now, Hillary Rosen, who you may remember from her own backtracking, she said the following on this issue. The biggest issue isn't whether he, Barack Obama, is for it or not. The biggest issue is giving the right wing a chance to keep it on the front pages, making it such a distraction. I agree with that last word. And finally, let me read what Susan Milligan had to say, who takes kind of Andrew and Dominic's position. This in U.S. News. The mixed message the White House issued on gay and lesbian rights was a mistake. It was brilliant. I'm not buying all of that here, but how does this play out? Andrew, what do you think the next step is?
I think
he's going to keep getting asked the question.
Well, I think the questions are going to keep coming, absolutely. I think you're going to wind up with votes like you have in North Carolina today, and the issue will pop up from time to time. And I think it moves past the November election, which is the game plan, I think, from the White House right now.
Well, you got the gay and lesbian community, Go Proud, one of the biggest ones, the executive director said the White House is trying to have it both ways.
That's
and last week when they heard a comment from him, they were happy with the White House, right? I grant you. But listen, this is the definition of creating your own controversy here, and I don't get why they're really doing it.
Well, look, I've been talking about politics in all this.
It's easy to figure out because it's a political hot potato, and they're going to throw it into the lap of Mitt Romney. Well, and they're going to say, what's your position?
Why can't Mitt Romney say, I'm with the president here? I'm not comfortable with gay marriage.
He can't say that
Why
because
can't he?
The right will have his neck if he says
no,
that.
if he says, I'm not comfortable with gay marriage, I'm with the president.
No, but
then the president's going to have to defend himself.
But does Mitt Romney want a constitutional amendment making same-sex marriage illegal? Is that the next step? Is that what would placate the far right in this case?
But he's getting a hard time. He just points to the president and be like, don't lecture me here on morality. You're not willing to right now demand that it be the law of the land either, are you?
You know, it also goes beyond. It goes also to the president's record on legislation. Just now, Carney was talking about his record. It was only about, 2 or 3 weeks ago that he sent Valerie Jarrett, one of his deputies, to a meeting of gay, lesbian, of the GBLT community, telling them that no, he was not going to sign an executive order. It was an executive order that was being floated and on his desk, ready to be signed, that would have protected gay and lesbian employers of federal contractors in a sweeping bit of legislation that he at the last moment pulled out of and sent her to tell them in a closed-door meeting, sorry, but the thing he was going to sign in these next couple of days is not going to be signed. So his legislative record is not sparkling or sterling at all.
Really? Because I thought there was Don't Ask, Don't Tell in place before this president took over.
That doesn't make it
I thought there was a ban on travel in and out of the country if you were HIV positive before this president took over.
And he just had an opportunity to protect the workers of federal contractors, and he punted.
Which is fair and which is fine, but again, he's the only game in town. If you're looking for LGBT rights, President Obama is the only game in town on the presidential ballot this fall.
Well, you know, but still, he's punting on some of these things.
What's
and
the
it's,
option?
And
What's
there's
the
no guts.
alternative? If you're saying that he's punting, what's the alternative? Roll back gay rights?
No,
20
you know what
years?
the alternative is? You know what tell us exactly how you feel. If you are, what's behind the wink and the nudge? You know what's behind the wink is that I am pro-gay marriage.
That's
Be
not answering my
honest.
question. It's what is the alternative to President Obama? You may have questions about what his position is. You may
Right.
think that he hasn't taken his position far enough. What's the alternative? It's Mitt Romney and it's a Republican-led Congress. What do you think happens to gay rights there?
I think the alternative is also, you know, I think the alternative is independents knowing who they're voting for, moderates knowing who they're voting for.
I think they know pretty well.
Well, but the thing is that if he comes out and says that,
you know what? We talk about politically whether it's a winner or not here. Let's show the poll here. And this, Andrew, this came out pretty recently, these poll numbers, right?
Yeah, I
Whether
think
or
there was
not
a new poll over the last couple of weeks
right. And
with
this
North
is
Carolina
whether
in
or
mind.
not, if we could bring it up for the audience, the public, how they feel about this. And it's both broken down here by Democrat, Republican, and then the overall population. And there it is. Overall, the majority of Americans support the concept of same-sex marriage. And if you break it down by party, roughly 2/3 of Democrats and almost 3 in 5 independents support this. So to me, this is an evolving position. If you broke it down even by younger demos, the number's going to get only bigger and bigger. I think it's a political winner. I understand what you're saying, though. You do this, you're going to tweak even some of the base. Some of the minority communities aren't as crazy about this, right?
African-Americans, Latinos, and I'm not talking about the entire communities, but if the president does this, he already has a problem energizing the base. We talk about this night after night. He does this, he's got a real problem.
And he will also
with his
energize.
base.
So then-
he will also
guys, you're
energize the
proving my
alternate
point.
base. He will
Why
also,
the heck would Biden
because
bring
he
it
will
up?
also energize the
Because it
alternate
was a
base.
wink and a nod saying, I'm with you, let me get past the election.
which speaks to a lack of
You're
character
asking
and a lack
people to
of
make
guts.
3 steps. And I don't see that. And I'm with some of these other folks that are saying, if you're asking the public to make 3 steps to say, wait a minute, Biden says he's for it. Obama's clearing up that he's still not for it.
Well, look,
But that means
is the
after
president-
he gets elected, maybe he will be for it.
Is the
I don't
president
buy
trying to
they do
have
that.
things both ways on this? Absolutely, he is. Absolutely, he is. He's trying to set it up so that anybody, anybody
these
can
are
find the
people's
answer that they
lives.
want
If
in
you
his,
got
in his
that,
side.
Andrew, that's fine. But I don't think he gets it the way that they're handling it. Let me see what Samantha's got to say. She's calling us from New Jersey. Samantha, how about you? What do you think the president will and should do here? Samantha got turned. Yeah, go ahead.
Is a lot smarter than the White House allows the public to know. And once he is reelected, I'm sure the gay and lesbian community will have a lot more than they have had before this president. And I'm sure everything will work out but in the second term.
All right. Thank you, Samantha.
Well, again, if that's how this is going to play out, if this is one of those things that he's going to finally come out about without having to worry about a re-election, well, then I think it's intellectually an opportunity to be intellectually honest and come out and say exactly how he feels. And and by the way, speaking of intellectual honesty, I must be intellectually honest here and say, as I'm calling for guts on the part of the president, I'd like to call upon members of the Republican Party, although I'm not necessarily Republican, but I'd like to see some conservatives out there search their souls and come out. And you know what? A great way to trump the Democrats on this one is to come out and say, look, we can't really go too far on marriage, but we would like to start a movement towards civil unions. That would be a huge movement. I'd like to see it happen. That's how I feel.
They just chased out one of Romney's top assistants.
Right.
I know, and it's a shame. It's a crying
How
shame.
would Dick Lugar fare today if he said that in Indiana today?
Well, he's already
he'd be out of
going
a job.
But again, I call upon conservatives to do a little soul searching and realize, we talk about small government, we talk about government out of our lives. I think it's about time that we got smart and realized that that also means out of people's bedrooms.
So
I
get with
think
the
it should.
times.
I think
You're
it. Well,
you're
it
saying
isn't.
they should get with
Yes,
the times.
it's a generational thing. They could capture the next generation.